Hey, what's up guys? So in last two videos we completed the sequential turn signal unit, and at this very point of the video you should already have your turn signal ready to go, test it and ready to go back in the car. When it's done, it should look something like this, and if you guys need to go refer back to the video, you guys can totally do that, so it's in the description. So yeah, in today's video we are moving on to the final stage of this process, which is the angel ring conversion, and I had a lot of fun doing this. Was fairly easy process, so I hope you guys will enjoy this video, and let's finish this tail light. Let's go. Alright, so we are going to move on to the angel light conversion. I just want to quickly talk about what angel ring I purchased. This is the eBay ad, and this is the sizing that I bought. Color red, pretty simple. Other people also buy this and do the swap. I did kind of copy exactly what other people did. So right now I'm testing the ring because they work as 12 volts directly to the LED, so you don't have to add any resistors. It will just light up with the 12 volts because they are adjusted to that frequency, the voltage. Anyway, I found out that when I was testing it out, it worked, but it was way too bright for me because this is how it looks. Alright, as you can see, it's very bright at 12 volts. So, you know, this looks like a brake light more than a running light, because for the angel ring, I wanted to make it as a running light, not the brake light. So I figured I needed to lower the voltage so that way it's not as bright as I wanted them to be. Because I wanted to just leave the stock brake light, so the normal brake light, but I just wanted the running light to be, you know, angel ring. So, you know, it kind of looks like this. So that was my intention of the reason why, to dim it down a little bit so it's not overkilling. Right, so that means that I needed to lower the voltage going to the LEDs. So if you guys were paying attention to the last two videos, yes, I have to add a resistor. So I decided to add one resistor for each ring that I was using for the tail light. And this is how it kind of looks. I'm not too sure if it picked up on the camera, but it's a slightly more dim compared to the initial stage. I put a comparison right here. Alright, so now we are kind of approaching to the last steps of this assembly, and we are going to talk about the basic wiring system of coming from 240SX S13, specifically from the chassis side. So the stock lights, if you already have Type X lights before, this is how your wiring should kind of look like right now. If you're transferring over from the stock OEM tail light assembly to the Type X, please do this step first so you don't get confused. Basically, if you have the stock one, make sure you wire it exactly like you see in this screen right now. So brake and running light, and then turn signal, and another brake and running light. So you splice the turn signal and make sure you do that. And we're going to talk about how to wire up sequential turn signals. So basically, it's fairly simple. You see the turn signal bulb, it's labeled in gray because I guess like the socket is gray, and then there's a solid green line coming into the socket, and there's also a ground wire. So there's total of 2 wires going into turn signal. Fairly easy. Green is the positive power side, and then the black one is the ground negative side. So you cut both of them and splice it to the power and then the ground for the module. So when you splice it and plug it, this is how it should look. So that, changed to the LED module. So that's how it should look right now. Fairly simple. Doing this, turn signal will work because we did everything else besides the wiring with the module. So the module made it really easy to splice it to simply power and ground, and it should work perfectly fine that way. So now it's really simple. So we're going to move on to the angel light because that's when it gets a little bit confusing. So you notice that there are 4 wires coming out from the end of the harness, and also the middle one has come with 3 wiring. So one is ground, one is brake light, one is running light, and I kind of label it right here. The solid green is the turn signal, and then the brake light is yellow and green. Running light is white and green. So basically we're going to leave the brake light harness uncut, and we're going to cut the running light, and then also we're going to bring the ground from the same spot we splice it to the turn signal. So a little bit different now. So basically you see there's a plus side, power side coming out from the angel light. Basically you will connect that with the white and green wire, which is the running light. So you splice it and connect it together, both sides. So both sides have green and white wire. So make sure you splice it and connect the power side for both. So when you do that, it should look like this. So as you can see, the ground is connected to the harness that are on the appropriate side. So on the outer end and the outer ring should be connected together. Inner harness and then the inner ring should be connected together. So this is how it looks. Make sure you connect the ground to the bulb because both of these bulbs needs a brake light, and the brake light will need a ground. So you cannot splice it completely. You kind of like merge them together. So make sure you keep that in mind. And this is the right wiring, and when you do this, it should light up perfectly fine. So now we're going to move on to testing the light on an actual car. So basically what I'm doing here is that I'm masking everything together, so make sure it doesn't move around, tucking all the wires in, and kind of just keep it inside. Don't worry about closing it all the way. Just kind of lightly close it and then mask both sides, and then make sure you have your wiring all set up and ready to go, and all you have to do is connect it to the chassis side and test it out to see if it works. Alright, so this is how it kind of looks on the car when I was testing it. Some stuff doesn't work, so that's part of the process of trying and figuring out the error. So that's the reason why we have to test it, because if we seal it and that's going to be really terrible, because I kind of had it sealed and I figured out there was a problem, so I had to pry it open like 3 times, and I kind of damaged the lens and stuff like that. So don't do that. Test it before you seal it. So don't do anything until you know that it's perfectly working by connecting it to the car. So now we are moving on to the last step, which is to seal it back and putting it back on the car. So now I am back in my house and then taking off the lens and stuff like that, and we're going to put everything in place. So to do that, I bought this heat gun. It's really inexpensive. I have what I bought shown right here. Basically what I'm doing, I'm cleaning it and making sure that there is no residue or any leftover adhesive, because that will show up from the outside. So once you seal it, you never want to, open it back again. So you want to make sure you do this step correctly. So now we are putting everything together, so that's how it looks. So the angel ring, I basically placed it where the harness will line up on the bottom end of the tail light, and then I'm basically hot gluing the turn signal unit from the back and making sure that it aligns correctly and straight. And yeah, just keep on looking it from front and just really be careful with it, and we're going to move to the next step. So now we are drilling a hole for the angel taillight harnesses directly on the mold of where you install your turn signal. So I have a drill and I decided to drill a hole where the harness is coming out on the angel light. So kind of align it and then mark it with a Sharpie, and you want to work your way up from the smaller bits to the bigger bits, and then just really be careful with it, because once it's in there, it's in there. So drill a hole and put the harness through the hole, and we're gonna move on to the next. So you should probably go and test it one more time to make sure everything is working. If you make sure that everything was working, then you are going to move on to the last step, which is to seal the tail light back up. Okay, now we are approaching to the final step. So basically, I bought this new seal. You can buy this on, I guess, eBay. That's where I bought it. I have the link right here. And then basically you're going to tuck them into the trenches of where the lens is going. Try not to stretch. I kind of stretched it by accident, so I had to go over it one more time. But try to, not stretch it as much as possible. These are adhesive that when you stretch it, it gets really sticky. So make sure you don't do that. And when it heats up, let it stretch on its own. So yeah, just be careful with it. You do this on the both side, but not on the lens. You just do it on the trenches of the housing. So yeah, here's me trying to put it together. Just kind of push it around, make sure everything is in, and then next up is to heat it up and then closing it completely. Alright, so you heat it up and push them in with your hand, and then what I did, I just kind of duct tape it. It's pretty straightforward. So I put some stuff on top while it cooled down, and yeah, it's pretty sealed. I know there is gonna be a little bit gap in between, but I just didn't really care. I mean, ideally you don't want any gap, but I mean, you kind of pried it open, so so don't worry about it. So now what I'm doing now is I'm trying to basically fill the whole of it, the turn signal bulb socket area. So what I did, I just hot glue it shut. There's different way you can do. You could probably put epoxy. That's probably better, but I was kind of lazy and I wanted to finish it as soon as possible because I just wanted to see it on the car. So I got lazy and I just hot glue it. So that's really up to you whether you want to do this way or not. It worked. So for me, it worked. So I just used whatever I had at home. And yeah, I just kept it shut for both sides. Right, so basically we're on the final step before we put it back on the car. So this is a ribbon sealer from 3M. I got this idea from this YouTuber. Shout out to you. And my idea was to basically cut it and then placing it around where we initially took the seal off. And yeah, it's pretty straightforward. It's it's not hard. You just kind of cut it and stuff like that. So if you want to purchase the same thing, there's a link in the description. It was kind of expensive actually, but I guess there's a reason why how it's so sticky and annoying to take it off. But yeah, I'm happy that we're on the last step now, and this is how it looks. Yeah, it looks really clean. I'm really liking it. And now we are going to the car and actually put it on and finishing off this video. All right, so we are at the car. Using a polisher and stuff like that really helps, taking off those nasty seals around it. But you don't have to get it as much as possible. At this point, I was kind of lazy already. So yeah, putting it back, everything together. Make sure you put the tail light first, then you put your reverse light garnish, and then yeah, look at it. It looks so good. Like you can kind of see the LED, but it looks really OEM. But yeah, this is how it looks. And now this concludes my full LED Type X light for my 240SX, and I couldn't be any more happier of the result. But thank you guys so much for watching, and if you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Comment down below any question you have. I can answer them for you, and I will see you guys on the next video. Peace out.